nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to season 5 of the high school coverage by SA Soccer Roundtable. Kind of crazy. 5 years. Started out with me and Scott, and I did reach out to Scott, and unfortunately he had already had plans set up to come on for the introduction for us here. But hopefully I'll get a hold of Scott and we'll be able to do kind of a mini preview, because high schools was his baby, and we've carried it for 5 years thanks to Rafa kind of stepping in and taking the reins on it. And so I want to thank Danielle, Rafa, Scott, obviously, Todd,
Jose.
I was going to say Jesus, and I was like, no, it's not Jesus. Matt will be contributing this year as well. So Coach Cano, a huge supporter and contributor to it as well. So Danielle has also timed in, her thoughts once or twice, and especially when it comes to refereeing. And then all the guests, want to thank everybody for tuning in. But it's a new season, Rafa.
Yeah.
Lots of changes, which we'll kind of go over. We'll break down the districts, especially for UIL, because there's quite a bit of changes. We've got the standings set up here. TAPS has already kind of kicked off, so we'll briefly look at the schedules there. You've got something that you're going to be introducing for live events. It's going to be a different tag. I believe you and Matt are going to be doing more of an Instagram for that here, which we'll be able to go into more detail. Rafa rankings, you can kind of go into that. And if you listen to the 50-50 podcast, you probably already know a little bit about the Rafa rankings, although I think that's more statewide, right?
Statewide.
This will be more centrally located to the San Antonio area. Rafa, your opening thoughts on the upcoming high school season?
Looking forward to it. It's going to be an intriguing season now with the, we had realignment back in the spring. Some teams moved up, some teams moved down. We'll see who's going to be, the top dogs for the 3 classifications for the boys and the girls, and see what some of these teams have coming back. There are some teams that we had high hopes, and they kind of faltered in the playoffs. We had some sleeper teams. We had one team bring back the gold. Well, we had 2 teams bring back the gold. One on the boys' side, one on the girls' side, with Bernie High, and also with the John Paul II out in Shirts. So, looking forward to this season, how it's going to come down to, and like I said, who's our sleeper teams, and then also come March. Mid-March, the bracketology part 3. So, always looking for that. See if we break the record, the 6-hour record.
We still got to discuss on how to do it, because I think it's kind of cool we do it in one night. It's kind of unique, but dang, it's a lot. So. Might have to take off the day after work on the next one to get some sleep in for the hair, or maybe start earlier in the afternoon for the hair. But looking forward to it. We'll get into the TAPS coverage here. If you want to kind of let them know what the plans is for live games, going out and watching, Instagrams where you can kind of follow along those lines, or Instagram's coming, so that's still to be determined. But your ideas for going out to watch or take pictures, or in some cases broadcast the games if available. And then of course we want to open the floor to players, coaches, and administrators to come on and discuss about your high school. You're in the San Antonio area, or even if you're outside of San Antonio, I doubt we would turn you away. So, Rafa, if you want to kind of go into a little bit more details on that.
Sure. That for this season, like I said, we're looking forward to what we kind of built on this past year. I think was real successful with our live broadcasts of the games. We went to quite a few games. I know me and you went to Hondo for their first ever district game, which both the boys and the girls won. That was fun. Like I said, me and Coach Kano did some of the playoff games, and like I said, hopefully we'll be doing some more live commentary. And now we have Matt too. Matt's going to help out a bit to fill in some of those games, and then also we're going to create an Instagram page to take a lot of photos of a lot of the places we go to as far as the games, and showcase what's around the city, and also the new power rankings. I call it the RPI, the Rafa Power Index 15. I want to call it the RPI 15. So those will be coming out soon. Like I said, we're still early. Like I said, I'll do some research and figure those out. And then also we love to have coaches come on. We want to see, talk about your programs. We had a lot of great coaches last season on. We love to hear your stories and just talk soccer in general as far as with the high school. We want to give much exposure. I think this past year was probably one of the best seasons as far as coverage. Mm-hmm. And finally high school soccer is getting their due respect, and it's coming up, so with our collaboration with the 50/50 podcast, like I said, we got a lot of props from a lot of different, high schools, organizations, like the Texan Live, they'll enjoy watching some of our, our live streams, and then meeting different people, pleasure meeting people from like the Dripping Strings Soccer Booster mm-hmm. Club for the girls. Thank you,
Mr. Drip. Rafa loves the free gear.
The free gear. So yeah, if you got free gear, send it our way. Beanies. I don't mind representing your teams. So that's all good and fun. And like I said, I'm just looking forward to this. It's going to be an exciting year. A lot of intrigue, especially what all the changes that we had, and with the district alignments, and then also we're going to also give more love to, like I said, even for the TAPS. TAPS is already underway, which mm-hmm. we'll discuss in a bit, and hopefully we'll be heading out to a game tomorrow. I know there's a big game tomorrow, which we'll go into the details on that. Not say we're going to live stream the game. It's just we're going to just come check it out, take some pictures, and maybe some little clips here and there, and then hopefully, like I said, if you want us to live stream your game, reach out to us, inbox us. Love to come out, and like I said, hopefully we'll also have like a quote unquote game of the week. So then like I said, the live stream game is going to be called 210 High School Soccer, 210 High School Soccer Live. That's how we're going to call the live streaming games here moving forward. And then there's a hashtag there. That's the 210 HS Soc Live. So tag us on there, and then also the TX HS SOC also hashtag us there, and then results during the year when you play, send us your scores, tag us on there. We love to retweet your scores and so forth, your players of the week. We love to hear that. Or the signing day, hey, tag us on there too. We like to showcase the talent that we have here in San Antonio, going to the next level, once they graduate and so forth.
All right, let's get this out of the way. You got any comments for Coach Cano? Hala Madrid. Any Real Madrid that we need to discuss, or how'd Spain do? Oh, that's right. They're with Mexico now, right?
Oh, they were in the news actually. They just signed a 16-year-old Brazilian phenom.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, from Palmeiras. But he won't be coming to the team until 2024. Lots of millions of dollars on that transfer, so he could be the next. Who's to say he's the next Neymar or Vinny Jr. or Rodrigo? So I think Real Madrid loves those Brazilian players, like I said, with Ronaldo from the past and a couple other players.
Well,
Roberto Carlos
doing all right in the World Cup, so Any thoughts on the World Cup before we get through? I know we haven't talked with it. I think with the quarterfinals kick off tomorrow, if memory serves me right, with Croatia and Brazil, and at 9 o'clock Central Time, and then Netherlands versus Argentina. Are we going to get a South America special in the semis, or
that I think so. Don't count Croatia out. They got a good team. They got, like I said, they got the guy that never ages, Luka Modric. He's been playing great, and so this could be a trap game for Brazil. They got to get by this one.
No.
They can't look past. They can't look past.
I'm not saying
Croatia.
They can't look back, but it's not the quarterfinals of a World Cup is not a trap game.
Well, for them, this could be the one. If they don't play well, this could be a trap game for them. But I think eventually the Brazil has probably a little too much talent. So I think
they're too deep, though. That's my thing with Brazil. Is you do the substitution, and especially where you get 5 subs now. I don't think Croatia on their bench has basically, I think the bench for Brazil is probably on par with most other nations. Like, I think Brazil B team could be the United States A team, if that makes sense, just with the talent that they have. Netherlands, Argentina, Messi is does it get the World Cup after all, or does the Dutch knock him out?
This is an intriguing game. You got two soccer powers. Lots of history. And the pressure is really on Argentina, not so much on the Netherlands. So if the Netherlands can play like what they did with the U.S., it had a really good game plan. One thing is Van Gaal is a really good coach. You got to, he ate Berhalter's lunch in the last game, so he's gonna have a game plan to finally maybe, to neutralize Messi as far as touches. If they can execute that plan, they'll be surprised if the Netherlands passes through. But like I said, you got it when you have Messi on your team, you're favored. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Brazil Argentina semifinal.
On the other side of the bracket, Morocco had probably the upset of the round of 16 versus Portugal, who didn't play Ronaldo. And then, to me, I think the match of the match of possibly the tournament, England and France, because England's feeling pretty good for that here, in France as well. France, they're deep and solid.
They're basically like Brazil. Their second team is probably just as good as their first team. Like I said, their roster is very deep, and that's going to be a classic of a game. And they're saving it best for last for Saturday, so they want to go with a bang for the semifinals. So I'm going to give the edge on that one to France. Like I said, Mbappe's been playing lights out. If you
I don't trust Southgate. I don't trust Southgate. He's like Berhalter to me.
So their coaching staff, like I said, France's coach said they're on par. Like I said, they've been on it. Giroud's been playing great. Showing me being his first World Cup, really playing well in that holding mid position. So they, like I said, England, they have the talent, but they just don't have the coaching. Now the Morocco-Portugal game, you got to give the edge. Portugal made a statement on the last game, and Santos made a really good decision as far as benching. He saw something as far as tactic wise in this that Switzerland game, and it paid dividends with that hat trick. So this Ronaldo starting this game, it's a question mark. I'm probably not, but he is going to be an important key as far as coming off the bench if they do need instant offense. So. But I'm going to give the edge to Portugal on that one. So we'll have probably a Portugal-France rematch of that Euro a few years ago.
All righty. So let's move on to the high school side here, because that's what we're here for. So winter soccer standings 2023, starting out with TAPS. District 1, they've redid the districts for TAPS. Houston and San Antonio are merged together, and you'll see adjustments from last year this year. Antonio's 8-0. Houston St. Prius X Catholic Schools 6-0. Tomball Concordia Lutheran, third. Houston St. Thomas. Central Catholic hasn't played a lot. Only they're 3-1, and then the Village School out of Houston 3-2. So, I know we're kind of the first show here. But number one, your thoughts on the district with the changes of moving some good Houston schools into with Antonian and Central Catholic.
This is going to be a real tough district for Antonian and Central Catholic, what they've been used to the last few years, and especially now with the travel, they're going to have to head out to Houston quite often for some quite a bit actually. 1, 2, 3, well, at least 4 trips out there. Compared to the other schools, they only have to make a trip out here twice. So it's going to be a very competitive district. But like I said, you can see Antonia's off of a good start, but so is St. Pius and Central Catholic. Hopefully they can rebound from last year's disappointment, and I think they'll contend and for a playoff spot. But this is a year for Antonia because Antonia had their chances to win that district last year, and they kind of fell apart. They weren't able to get over the hump versus Central Catholic. So this could be their year to make a statement and also make a deep run into the TAPS playoffs and hopefully contend for that state title. So this is going to be a wild woolly district. But I think Antonian and Central Catholic, I think they'll get their opportunities to get into the playoffs.
I will say, in looking kind of at the schedules on Rank One Sports, it does seem, like, and this is the game that we were talking about earlier, is tomorrow night at 7:00 at Ferreira Field, where Antonian plays. They play St. Prius X through here, and then the following day they play Village from Houston. It does seem like that when the Houston schools come here, they're going to play Friday, Saturday, because when Antonian travels to Houston, they're also playing the third and fourth. So I'm assuming Friday, Saturday as well. So I think that's how the schools are trying to address the cost of travel for it here, and the reverse. So Central Catholic plays Houston Village on tomorrow night, and then Saturday at 5 they play St. Prius X. So for St. Prius X, they get they're second in the district. By the end of this week here, they could be setting themselves up pretty well if they are able to win in San Antonio. Now, if they have a rough trip in San Antonio, starting out 0-2, put you a little bit behind the 8 ball there.
And it looks like the district decided to do to minimize the travel during the, like I said, playing Monday or Tuesday night games. They decided to do Friday, Saturday games. So when they travel out, they stay overnight, and then they play the next game, which is kind of smart there because, like I said, imagine playing on a Tuesday night, going from Houston all the way to San Antonio and back. That'll take a toll on your team.
It's a 3-hour drive. It's 6 hours back and forth. Well, may even be a little bit longer in the school bus. So you figure 8 hours, between stops, restrooms, and stuff like that. So
that's pretty smart there for that district to do that. It just minimizes the travel, and like I said, they're still, like I said, they'll finish the game a lot sooner too. So it's going to be tough. Like I said, when each of the Houston teams make their road trip here, can they get the wins, or are they going to go back with losses? So it's going to be real important for both Central Catholic and Antonia to kind of hold, win their home games and so forth, and then kind of steal a couple games over there.
Now, one thing looking at Central Catholic's schedule, and I'll ask this compared, with Antonian. Central Catholic, for January 5th, 6th, 7th, going up to play in the North Texas Elite Tournament, which is one of the best tournaments where that same time frame, Antonian's playing the NEISD, the Northeast Soccer Tournament there. Is there an advantage or disadvantage at the TAPS level at this here, playing at a top tournament like up in the Dallas Fort Worth area at the North Texas Elite, or playing locally here against the NEISD tournament?
I think playing in that Northeast Elite Showcase it's a plus for Central Catholic because it prepares them, which is like in the past, it's prepared them to make those deep runs in the playoffs. You're playing real good quality with some nationally ranked, not state ranked, but nationally ranked teams. And win or lose, it's preparing you not only also for some of your district games, that's whatsoever is left over, but also to make that deep run in the playoffs. Another thing, also a lot of those teams, especially in that other probably District 1 for the TAPS 6A, they have all those Dallas area teams, so it's good to go up there to see play tougher competition because you're going to see those Dallas teams possibly like in the semifinals or in the final. So I'm surprised Antonio is playing in that. It could be budget wise, maybe like I said, they have that opportunity to play that Northeast Showcase. I mean, I would or play a tournament just as a tournament just as tough as that. I think would benefit them, especially now with this tougher district they're in now.
Yeah, sorry, I thought that it was showing 2022, but it was last year's, not this year's. Or for that here, so just trying to see if they've got. Yeah, they haven't updated it yet for this upcoming year.
But you can see the teams from they were last year. They're probably going to be kind of the same one. So
yeah, so last year they lost to McKinley Boyd, who ended up winning the entire bracket, and they played Grand Prairie for there as well. And then they played Marcus, which I think was a playoff team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the state powers.
So Central Catholic struggled a little bit, in the tournament. But in speaking with you and Scott, way back 5 years ago, these early season tournaments are more. It's like kind of like club play early on. It's do you want to win? Sure. But it's more about developing, players, seeing how they fit, especially under pressure along those lines. Are they adapting the coaching along those lines for that? Because I believe this is their usually first week of games. Typically, they may play one right at the end of the season. Now, obviously, the TAPS teams are the advantage of playing a few weeks before that here. But so. Any thoughts, any possibilities of some of these teams appearing in the RAFA RPI index yet, or still a little bit early to kind of see out of these District 1, 2?
Don't be surprised, Antonia. And if they can get a big win tomorrow, don't be surprised they're in the top 15. So same thing with Central Catholic, whatever their schedule is coming up, what games they play, and then also how they do. That Northeast Elite Showcase, it's gonna be. We'll know more once I do those power rankings.
So moving to District 2, Region 4. This one's a little bit more mixed results. San Antonio Christian 3-3, 2-0. TMI SWL 4-2, 2-0 in district. Laredo St. Augustine. Only win was in district for that here, and. Split there, they're 1-5. Brownsville, St. Joseph, only one win. St. Mary's is only reporting 1-1. So, Coach Cano, if you played more games, come on, let's get it updated. St. Anthony, 2-1, and Victoria, St. Joseph Flyers only 0-1 and one loss in the district. So, this district we kind of talked about here, where it's really kind of a South Texas district from San Antonio, Brownsville, Victoria over near Corpus.
Laredo.
Your thoughts on this district here?
This is maybe a little wide open a bit. I think the favorite's probably going to be TMI, San Antonio Christian, but don't be surprised that Brownsville St. Joseph's team, they have talent too. So those are probably your three teams. They're going to probably be fighting it out for that district title. St. Mary's Hall, I think they can be in contention to get a playoff spot. I think they can take care of business against like Laredo and St. Anthony's and Victoria. So I think for me, those are the four. Michael, if they have 4 or 5, depending, because I said taps, I don't know how many teams qualify for this playoffs, because I've seen some that have had some more and some less. But I think those are the top 4 teams in that district. But like I said, I'm going to give TMI the notch as far as, battling it out with San Antonio Christian for that district title. But like I said, keep your eye out on that Brownsville St. Joseph's Academy team. They do have very talented players.
Moving on to District 3, Region 4. Geneva School of Bernie, 2-1. New Braunfels Christian Academy, 1-0. Church John Paul, 2-3. Corpus Christi and Carnarvon Academy, 1-1. San Antonio Atonement. Kerrville, Our Lady of the Hills Hawks, 0-2, and Holy Cross and Corpus Christi St. John Paul II, still hasn't played off yet. So this one's probably a little bit hard to read for the smaller private schools along those lines here. So your thoughts on this one?
This one's gonna, like I said, it's also gonna be wide open because it's a newer district. Just keep your eye on Bernie Geneva, Church St. JP II. Keep an eye on those 2 teams, like I said, as far as making playoffs. Maybe Holy Cross too could sneak in. It's going to be a wide open district, but like I said, it's going to be coming down to probably John Paul and Geneva. Not familiar too much from the Braunfels Christian Academy, but they could be a sleeper team. So we'll know more once, I guess, the records start kind of this playing more of their district games. We'll know more who's on top, who's the king of the hill that district.
Moving on to the ladies here, District 1, Region 2, because there's only 2 regions, and then the other's an independent out of El Paso. Houston St. Agnes Academy, 4-2. San Antonio Incarnate 6-5, 2-0 in district. Antonian 8-0-3, 1-0. Houston St. Prius 2-4-1. And then you get some other Houston schools here. So it looks like I'm assuming the top 3 are going to be fairly strong for that here. And then I'm not sure, how to read the bottom of the Houston schools there.
Yeah, for our San Antonio teams, like I said, Antonia's been a consistent team, for the girls soccer, for the girls taps. So more likely, like I said, they're going to contend for that district title. The surprise is in Carnarvon. They have been down the last couple of years. So to be 2-0 in district, like I said, that's a great start for them. I guess they're going to be probably those 3 teams with St. Agnes. I think those are the 3 teams they're going to be fighting out for that district title for them.
And looking at the Antonian schedule here, it does show the boys and the girls for St. Prius and Village will be in town. 5:00 the ladies kick off against Antonian kicks off against St. Prius. And then at 7 was the boys, and then 1 on the 10th versus Village Houston, and then I think the boys was at 3, if memory serves me correct, for that here. But I guess Carnarvon would be the flip side because there's no Central Catholic for that here. So yeah, December 9th, the Village School at UIW Benson, and doesn't have a time for the Houston St. Prius, but on the 10th as well. So yeah, that's you're still getting that schedule of both teams, from San Antonio playing Houston schools back to back. For that here, and because you mentioned Antonian's pretty tall, pretty strong here. Don't see any preseason tournaments for that here. They play Judson, Burbank at Del Rio, Veterans Memorial, MacArthur. So not really tournaments, but more individual schools.
I think Coach Cano did mention to me, I think Antonio might be going to that Wimberley tournament.
Wimberley, okay.
So I think so that'll be a good tournament for them. Because they're going to play some of the top 4A teams for the because I know they're going to be at that tournament as well. I think that's what he said. I'm not too sure.
Well, according to Rank 1, doesn't show it as of yet. But of
Okay,
course,
so probably not. I know. Yeah. So I know Coach Cano's team is going to that one.
So Coach
So
just
just went
went Houston St. Prius and then Carterwood 4-1. So we've got
same
eyes
high
and
as
ears
me.
all over the place. And then the last district, or pardon me, the second district, Region 4, San Antonio Christian 3-1-1. St. Mary's, Coach, you were number 1 for 1 week. You gotta get that second win. 2-3, 1-0 in district. TMI 3-2-1, who beat San Antonio St. Anthony Catholic for their first, and then Laredo and Victoria, on the girls' side here. So this is a big change. I know we're more familiar with this group with Coach Cano in it here. Your thoughts on losing the Austin schools, which typically, well, I guess I'll ask you. Historically, it seems like have the better records than Laredo and Victoria, or are these two powerhouses, from down south that San Antonio is going to be facing?
No, I think last year's Dix was a lot more tougher. Like I said, I went to that one game when they played Austin Hyde Park over there. They went to that with that incredible comeback, and they went to overtime, and they went over the penalty kicks, and and I think they recently just played. I think Austin Hyde Park beat them, but St. Mary's Hall got a big win against TMI this past week. So as far as district title contention, I think it's going to be coming down to San Antonio Christian, St. Mary's Hall, and also TMI. I think those are your for sure three teams are going to make the playoffs. Laredo St. Augustine for the Spurs girls not very strong. I do know St. Mary's Hall is going to be at Victoria tomorrow, so we'll see what result they'll get over there. And then
no
St.
pressure,
Anthony's,
Coach.
No pressure, Coach. And then St. Anthony's, they haven't been traditionally strong as far as girls soccer, so I think those are the three are going to be contingent for the district title, and then more likely your playoff teams.
So I'm going to ask you this question here, because District 3 is the Hyde Park Regent, St. Dominic, St. Michael's that was in with St. Mary's, St. Mary's Hall last year. Is there any reason why they don't necessarily kind of consolidate these? I know it'd be a little bit bigger division than others, but that way you get a more rounded, because typically it's 4 teams from each district. I'm just going to pick a name out of the hat. Let's say St. Mary's Catholic, struggles a lot in Austin, and let's say St. Augustine Laredo just misses the playoffs, but they were a solid team. To me, if you are able to group these teams together, because that would be 3, 6, 10 teams. Is it just more of the travel cost of it, or the number of games as far as why they don't lump them together?
I think maybe the reason why they lump the Austin teams together is for less travel. Here, there is going to be some travel because, like I said, you have San Antonio, Laredo, Victoria. So, but the thing is, some of the San Antonio teams are only making a trip to Laredo one time and the Victoria one time. So it's going to be and also remember the classifications. Some teams went up, some teams went down. And like I said, Laredo and Victoria is going to have to make the trips over here to San Antonio more often than the teams that we have here. So, but it's still going to be a competitive district. I'm sure, like I said, out of this district, they're going to play the Austin teams in the first round of the playoffs. So, I think good preparation, playing, playoff contender teams. Hopefully, they can get them ready to meet like those teams. Like recently, like I mentioned, Hyde Park played St. Mary's Hall, I think last week, and like I said, I think Hyde Park got the win. But it's a good preparation then because they could see them again in the playoffs come February.
I do love this note. According to Rank 1 Sports, tomorrow they play at Victoria St. Joseph. The special notes: boys, girls matches will be played at the same time. So hopefully different fields.
And I looked at the fields like, I don't think it's big enough to have 2 fields there unless they're playing somewhere else.
22 on 22. So should be interesting for that here. I thought that was kind of funny seeing the special note that they had here. And then in the last district, Geneva School of Bernie 3-0, Church John Paul II, defending champs 8-2, New Braunfels Christian Academy 2-1, Holy Cross 2-4, San Marcos Academy Lady Bears 0-3, and the Atonement and Corpus Christi St. John Paul II reportedly has not kicked off as of yet. So obviously the heavy favorite still Church John Paul, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Geneva though had a pretty decent year if memory serves me right last year.
Yeah. Geneva was probably one of the tougher teams, in that district. But like I said, the class act is John Paul II because of winning that state title run that they had, and I think they only had one loss last year. I believe.
Yeah, they would know. We looked at their loss as one was against Austin Regents on the 17th. They lost 2-0. And then they lost to Antonian in the JP2 soccer tournament this past weekend, 1-0 after winning against Beaumont Kelly, Logos Prep, and Bay Area Christian along those lines here. The one match that we did notice for John Paul, January 3rd against Davenport, does look to be kind of a tasty one. The TAPS versus UIL schools along those lines here when we were kind of prepping for the show.
Yeah, that's going to be a backyard brawl game. So they're not too far away from each other. Like I said, like Coach mentioned here, the 3-4 is going to be a juggernaut. Multiple state contenders on there. But like I said, I'm going to give JP the second. Like I said, they have those. I know they have those 2 losses, but those are against quality teams. And like I said, they're playing teams a classification up or 2 classifications up. So, they know what they're doing. They're getting themselves prepared to make that another long run, that deep playoff round to hopefully maybe repeat as state champs.
It looks like New Braunfels might be a sleeper, New Braunfels Christian Academy, because they beat Hyde Park 2-1. They beat TMI 4-0. They did lose to Incarnate Word 2-3. They also play Davenport on the 12th and then follow up with Bernie on the 13th. They're, just looking at their schedule here. Then they actually play a return match against Davenport on the 26th as well. So it should be interesting to see how.
Yeah, scheduling Davenport, they made a deep run last year, especially the Bernie girls too, who made it to the state tournament. So, like I said, these teams are playing some quality teams. Like I said, playing quality teams is going to prepare you for those deep playoff runs, further down the season.
So that's where we're at so far on the the TAP standings here at this point. Any surprises for there? I know we kind of went through it. Any team that kind of stood out to you that's at least record-wise a little bit better, a little bit worse? I know it's very, very early. But any surprises?
Well, the Antonian boys, they're off to a fat start. I think last year they kind of did the same thing too.
Well, didn't they underperform last year though?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and that's the thing. Last year, and I really thought right before the district play they were going to win. Like I said, I had them as an opportunity to win the district because Central Catholic was vulnerable last year, but Central Catholic was able to sweep them. So this year, I think maybe they're kind of maybe everything's piecing together now, and then hopefully they'll do make a contention to win that district title. Same thing with the Antonian girls. I think they'll contend too as well.
So moving on to the UIL. So this part here, there's no games that have been played. We're kind of going to go through the districts here because there has been quite a bit of movement in 4A and 5A. Not a lot of movement in 6A with the exception of District 27 for that here. District 28 and 29 just had, a little bit of movement compared to the others, but lots of movement in, 4A and 5A here for that, especially in districts 27 and 28. Those 2 districts seem to have quite a bit here. 26, the only changes is San Antonio Great Hearts Northern Oaks moved out, and they moved into District 27. So you got Bandera, Bernie, Como Lake, Goma Canyon Lake, and then Davenport, Fredericksburg, Wimberley, and then Great Hearts, Northern Oaks, Griffins here. Any thoughts on this district for the boys?
It's all Bernie all the way. Like I said, they're back-to-back
defending state champs, right?
Back-to-back defending state champs. So they're should have no problem winning this district. They'll have a couple tough games. I think Davenport will give them a game. I think Wimberley, Fredericksburg is always tough too as well. So, but Bernie's going to be the class act of this district, and I kind of see them maybe getting the three-peat as far as with the state title. I think they have enough coming back to, I know with goalkeeping they got in, with their star goalkeeper, I think they have enough to come back, and the great coaching as well. So I don't be surprised if they get that third ring.
And then did I not? I didn't do who went out. I did a better job in 5A. So 4A, District 27, Gonzales moves in from 4A 28. Yoakum moves in from 4A 28. San Antonio Kennedy Rockets drops down from 5A 27. San Antonio Memorial drops in from 5A 27. And for women, for the girls only, Great Hearts Northern Oaks, drops in for the or actually that's for the women, so I won't address that here. So for the boys side here, Gonzales, Lavernia, Fox Tech, Kennedy, Memorial, and Yoakum Bulldogs here. Your thoughts on that district?
This is going to be a very competitive district. I'm going to give the edge to Gonzales. Gonzales has been one of the very consistent 4A teams. They've made the playoffs. I think a couple of years ago, they made a real good run. I know Lavernia, like I said, I had high hopes for them last year, but they got knocked out in the first round, and I did find out they did have a coaching change. So we'll see how that affects them. I know they have a lot of returning lettermen on that team, so they're going to be an experienced team. So those are the two teams they're going to be fighting for the District 27 4A title. Intriguing team is going to be the two teams that moved down from 5A to 4A is Kennedy and Memorial. Keep an eye out on Memorial. I know they have some good talent. I think now playing teams kind of with the same enrollment, it's going to help them. So I think that there'll be a sleeper team. Fox Tech's another very young team. Now they have a year under their belt. I think they made the playoffs last year. So Gonzales, Lavernia, Fox Tech, and Memorial are probably going to be your four teams coming out of the for the playoffs this year.
So, and the reason why I didn't do it is because it looks like what they did is most of the teams that were originally in District 28, Beeville Jones, Port Lavaca, Rockport, Palacios, they moved those to District 29. Because if you look at the next district here in 28, last year District 28 was Beeville, Jones, Gonzales, Port Lavaca, Calhoun, Rockport, Fulton, Palacios, and Yoakum. This year it's a brand new district. For here you got Floresville, Pearsall Mavericks, which is a brand new program, Pleasanton, Somerset, Hondo, who's the year 2, Uvalde, which I forget if it was boys or girls. One of them had a great run, and we'll get to that on the girls' side. And Poteet through there. So your thoughts on them kind of creating this? To me, this seems like a little bit more even district because, no offense to last year's district here, but, they were in Hondo was in with Lavernia, Pleasanton, Fox Tech, Somerset, Uvalde, and Poteet. So this was pretty much the makeup of the old District 27 with a few additions of new programs. And Floresville dropped down from 5A 28, and Pearsall is a new program, and the rest came from 4A 27. So Floresville is a team that dropped down. Does that make them a little bit more favorites, or
a little bit? But I think Pleasanton is going to be the favorite for this district. I think Floresville is going to contend because, like I said, they're in a district they were in the district of Southwest last year,
Mhm.
and they got kind of clobbered by them. So I think now playing, like I said, schools that kind of the same enrollment, I think they're going to be very competitive. It's as far as the last two playoff spots, it's going to be wide open. I think Uvalde, I think the boys, I think the Coyotes will have an edge. Um, don't sleep on Hondo, because like I said, we did see them last year.
They had some talent.
They had some talent, and if they can piece it together and kind of like I said, kind of shake off a little bit of that inexperience. I think they can get. They almost, like I said, they almost made the playoffs and missed, I think, by a game. So it's going to come. Like I said, the last two playoffs is going to be probably come down to Hondo and Uvalde. Don't sleep on Somerset. And I did see Somerset play last year against Lavernia. They had some talented players too, and they actually had a lead over Lavernia for a while. So hopefully they get things together as well. But like I said, as far as looking at Poteet, I don't think they're going to do much. Same thing with Pearsall being a brand new program.
That might be a team that we try to reach out to see, especially as they're getting ready to kick off for that here, just to see what kind of their expectations are. Moving into the ladies here, obviously same makeup here, with the only addition is the Great Hearts Northern Oaks in District 27, but the rest of the districts match up. Bandera, Bernie, Canyon Lake, Davenport, Fredericksburg, Wimberley, and Great Hearts Northern Oaks Griffins. Bernie, do we think that they come back a little bit better this time?
Like I said, last year they didn't win the district because Wimberley won it, but they came back and knocked off Wimberley in the playoffs. I think it's going to come down to those two teams as far as the district title. It'll be between Bernie and Wimberley. Davenport was another good team. Like I said, you saw they're playing a couple real top TAPS programs, so I think they're going to be contention as well. That fourth spot, I think it's going to come down to Canyon Lake and Fredericksburg. We'll see who's that. Like I said, Bender, I'm not too sure though. They can mount up, a lot against this, because this is a tough district. For one of the 4As here in Region 4. So, but it's going to, like I said, it's going to come down to Wimberley and Bernie as far as the top two spots, and then I think the other two are going to be claimed by Canyon Lake and Davenport.
We talk about travel. This one has quite a bit of, especially with
the Hill Country,
Bernie, Wimberley, Davenport. Quite a bit of travel, not quick trips there. 27, Gonzales, Lavernia, Fox Tech, Kennedy, Memorial, Yoakum, Great Hearts, and San Antonio Young Women's Leadership. So on the boys' side, there's only 6 teams here. On the girls' side, you add the San Antonio Young Women's, who was also in the same district last year, and add the Great Hearts Northern Oaks for that here as well here. So thoughts on this district? I'm assuming who's your favorite?
Probably be the Lavernia girls. I think they had a good season last year. I think they'll win this district. I don't think they should have a problem. Maybe Mike Gonzalez might kind of try to sneak up on them, and then also, like I say, also keep an eye on Memorial. They might have some players. Same thing with Kennedy. I think they'll contend. And as far as the other ones, I think they're, like I said, newer programs, still kind of inexperienced. But like I said, Lavernia is going to be probably winning this district, and then you'll have more likely, I think, Gonzalez and maybe Memorial Kennedy. Don't sleep on Fox Tech. I think they could sneak in and get that 4th spot as well.
I know last year when towards the end of last season when the realignment came out, you thought pretty high of Gonzalez, both on the girls and the boys' side, as far as kind of a sleeper coming in. I know they're not. We haven't really covered them a lot because they haven't been in a San Antonio district before. So, but I think you've had experience, with either somebody that that either coached or coached against them here. So to me, they're kind of an interesting one, as well as the Yoakum Bulldogs here, the two, regional teams, in this 4A district. 4A District 28, Floresville, Pearsall, Pleasanton, Somerset, Hondo, Uvalde, Poteet. I know Uvalde was the runaway winner last year. The Hondo girls struggled a little bit in year one, so it'll be interesting to see the growth that they have. Pearsall being new, we'll see what they have, and of course Floresville drops down, from 5A.
I think this is going to come down to between Pleasanton and Uvalde as far as the district title. Floresville could sneak up on because I know 2 years ago Floresville did knock off a very good Jefferson when they were in 5A. They knocked off a Jefferson Lady Mustangs team in the first round of the playoffs, which no one was expecting. So I think there'll be a contention for that third playoff spot. As far as the fourth playoff spot, it's probably going to come down to. I think this could be the year for the Hondo girls. I think they might have a chance. I know they have some talented players because we did see them play. I think it's going to be between Hondo, Somerset, and as far as getting that fourth spot. Like I said, I don't see Poteet and then also Pearsall because, like I said, they're still they're still new programs with not much experience to really do much. And this coming year, hopefully, like I said, they'll start contending the next couple of years. But I'll more likely, I think Uvalde is going to win the district, but they're going to have to earn it through Pleasanton. I think those are the two they're going to find it out. I think Floresville gets the third spot, and then the fourth spot is going to come down to Somerset and Hondo.
Make sure I hit the right slide here. So 5A, which is the Region 4 districts, 26, 27, 28. Moving to 5A. This District 26 had quite a bit of change going out. Buddha Johnson went to 26. Dripping Springs went to 6A 26. Dripping Springs went to 6A 26. Kyle Lehman went to District 25. Alamo Heights went to District 27, which they weren't happy about, if memory serves me correct. Colmel Piper, a brand new program. Smithson Valley dropped down from 6A 27, and San Antonio Wagner dropped down from 6A 27. So you got Bernie, Champion, Colmel Canyon, Piper, Smithson Valley, Kerrville, Tybee, Veterans Memorial, Wagner, and Seguin in the group here. Some powerhouses in there.
Yeah, there's a brutal district, and then especially Smithson Valley moving up from 6A to 5A, and you saw what Smithson Valley did last year in the playoffs. And they fell a little short because they did get knocked out one of the Austin teams, but like I said, now they're in 5A. I think they're gonna be a contender. But look what the Bernie Champion girls did. They took their lumps from Dripping Springs, and they're able to knock them off in that regional final in Corpus and get to the state tournament. And so those are the two. Those are going to be your two favorites for the District 26 5A title. Canyon Cougarettes, don't sleep on them. They got a good team as well. Lots of talent there. A sleeper team might be the Piper Warriors, Lady Warriors. First year in varsity play. I'm sure they're gonna. Like I said, I'm sure they're gonna a lot of returning lettermen. I wouldn't be surprised if they get that fourth spot. I think Veterans Memorial, Wagner. I think they're doing some rebuilding. Same thing with Seguin, Kerrville too. I know Kerrville was in contention a couple years ago, but they kind of fell off towards the end. So my top four teams, I think I said this is going to be a very strong district. You cannot fall asleep. You can't take anyone lightly, but it's going to come down as far as the district title is going to come down to between Bernie Champion and Smithson Valley. Like I said, as far as the two other favorites for the playoffs, are more likely it's going to be Canyon and Piper.
Moving on to 27. Out went San Antonio Kennedy, and Memorial went to 4A 26. In MacArthur from 6A 28 and lateral move, Alamo Heights from District 27. So you got Alamo Heights, Brackenridge, Burbank, Edison, Highland Ranch, Sam Houston, Jefferson, Lanier, and MacArthur Brahmas. So Alamo Heights is a class, right? of this one here?
I think they're going to run away with this district. MacArthur is going to give them a game. I think I've seen MacArthur play a lot. I know they were in that tough 6A district with Reagan and Churchill. I think moving down to 5A, I think they're going to be able to do some great things in this district. But I think the odds-on favorite is going to be Alamo Heights. I think number 2 is going to probably more likely be MacArthur. Number 3, I think 3 and 4 is going to come down to Jefferson, Edison, and possibly maybe Burbank, Brackenridge. So I think those are some teams in contention to get hopefully they get the final 2 spots in the playoffs.
If you had your choice, where would you have put Alamo Heights?
I think they should have been in 26 5A.
26.
But reasoning for why they didn't do it, and I know they try to appeal to get to move to that district to be more competitive, and it's not a diss on the other schools and so forth.
But they're at a different level.
Yeah.
Well, the other schools grow, hopefully, but Alamo Heights has that history. To me, this is a 9-team league. This is an 8-team.
Mm-hmm.
It would have left it at 9. To me, I wonder if you could have moved Veterans Memorial or Wagner. Would that have been more of a better split?
Well, because Veterans Memorial and Wagner are part of the same district, so they're not going to get split. Maybe they could have. Yeah, I mean, you could have put Kerrville into that district, but it's I guess because of geographics, the UIL decided otherwise. So, and depending, like I said, if I'm Alamo Heights as far as with the girls, I make sure I play a very tough non-district schedule and play some tough tournaments. And I think because if you're going to play, if there's going to be a big gap as far as competition, you need to prepare yourself early on in the season, because if you don't, you can get, like I said, the playoffs. You may end up playing. You're going to end up playing, especially in the second round, a 25 5A or 26 6A team. Like I said, in 25 5A, you have Liberty Hill, and they made a deep run last year. So, and also, like I said, you have Bernie Champion and Spencer Valley there, so you may see them in that second round game. So, like I said, Alamo Heights should take care of business, but hopefully they did schedule a very tough schedule, and I think it's going to be a good fit. Like Coach Cano mentioned, it's going to be a good fit for MacArthur. I think they're going to get into playoff contention as well.
And then I missed Coach's comments on 26 5A. Look for Seguin to surprise some people. They'll be better, well-coached team. Multiple programs here with first-year coaches, which you've made mention this. Coaching matters at the high school level. Probably the biggest impact, that you see is if there's a quality coach, they'll get better return. You'll see the team maybe struggle a little bit at the start, but when it comes to playoffs, they're going to be a lot more organized along those lines here. And then 28, the only change was Floresville, moved to 4A. 28 and South San Antonio. That's a mouthful here. Can't drop down from 6A District 27. So you got Medina Valley, Eagle Pass, Wynn, Harlandale, McCollum, Southside, Southwest, South San, and Southwest Legacy for that here. So thoughts on this one here? I know Southwest South Dragons has for the last 3 seasons, 2-3 seasons, have been kind of the dominating team. I think Southwest Legacy had a decent run last year. I'm not sure if I mentioned my boys or girls team here, but I thought that they had a pretty successful season. So, Your thoughts on this one here? Is it still Southwest Dragons to lose, or?
Yeah, I think the Southwest Lady Dragons are going to run away with this one. They'll have some competition with Medina Valley. Medina Valley had a good season too. I think Medina Valley finishes runner-up. Don't sleep on McCollum, because McCollum had a really good season last year. I went to one of their playoff games, and they gave it all, and they had some good talent, especially some underclassmen.
Don't sleep on.
I think they'll be probably your number 3 team. Harlandale could be your 4th. I think the 4th spot could be coming down to Harlandale, Legacy, and Legacy to round up the playoffs.
So on the boys' side here, similar. We went through the changes here for it because there were no only girl-only programs or boy-only programs here. So Birdie Champion, Como Canyon, Piper, Smithson Valley, Kerrville Tivy, Veterans Memorial, Wagner, and Seguin. Any thoughts on the boys' District 26?
I think Smithson Valley is going to win this district. They're going to be the favorite. I think contentions with them. I think Canyon will be in contention. As far as for a playoff spot. Also with Piper, even though this is Piper's first varsity, keep an eye on them because they got, like I said, even though they're a young team, they got a lot of talent coming, returning from that underclassmen squad, and I think they get in the playoffs. We'll see if Birdie Champion bounces back because last year they had a really horrendous season, and there was a couple of games, some lopsided games, and I think hopefully they'll bounce back and get that last playoff spot. So don't sleep on them. Like I said, tradition wise, they've always been a really good program. I think hopefully they'll bounce back, and so look, I think those are the 4 teams as far as the playoff contention. Keep an eye at Kerrville Tivy; they could sneak up on you. Maybe even Seguin. Like I said, Seguin has some good players there too. And then to round out, I think Veterans Memorial, Wagner are probably going to be rounding out the bottom part of the district play.
27, Alamo Heights, Breckenridge, Burbank, Edison, Highland Ranch, Sam Houston, Jefferson, Lanier, MacArthur. I know Jefferson had a really good year last year. Alamo Heights probably still has to be the favorite, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alamo Heights boys, they had a good season last year. They had a good run. Going deep in the playoffs, so they should win this district. It's not like with the girls' side, it's going to be smooth sailing. Like I said, there are going to be challenged. There are some teams here that they can challenge them and sneak up because a few years ago they were in this district, and there were some games that they had to kind of grind it out. Mm-hmm. But Alamo Heights will win this district. Keep an eye out on Lanier. They had a good squad last year. Kind of disappointed because they lost in that first round. A couple of mistakes, but I think they were young. Our Sam Houston's another one. Like I said, we talked to Sam Houston's coach last year. A little disappointed in the first round loss, but they had a good talented squad. Hopefully, they can kind of piece it together and kind of really gel there. MacArthur might be a sleeper team because, like I said, there's some talented players there. They were just in a very tough district in 6A. Like I said, with Reagan and Lee and Churchill. I think they end up getting that 4th, battling for a playoff spot. And then you have other ones like Breckenridge and Edison. I think and Jefferson too. So it's going to be as far as from 2. Like I said, I think Alamo Heights should win this division, but from 2 to 4, as far as the 3 other playoff spots, they're going to be about 4 or 5 teams. They're going to in contention.
So you bring up a great question. When schools drop down, is it an advantage to be able to do so? Because obviously you're going probably from a smaller school at 6A in this scenario to probably one of the bigger 5A schools. So you probably have more depth. Is probably the biggest difference here. Is that correct?
That, and also depending like the district you played in. Like for example with MacArthur, when you battle it out with Reagan, Brandeis, the Northeast schools, it's a playoff game each district game. So they're going to be battle tested, and then now that you're going to play teams that have the same enrollment as you are, you're going to have that advantage. Also, like you mentioned with Deaf too, they're going to have that advantage also with Deaf. And like I said, I think they should they should be in contention for, like I said, for a playoff spot. So a lot of the teams that do drop down, like I said, they usually sometimes will be one of the favorites, not necessarily maybe district wise, but for district title wise, but in the playoff contention.
So moving to 28, addition South San, but Medina Valley, Eagle Pass win. Harlandale, McCollum, Southside, Southwest, and Southwest Legacy. Southwest has been undefeated in this district 2 years. 2 years.
I think 3 years already.
3 years. They've had a coaching change that happened last year. We've got to see if if there's a drop in talent, because some of those kids have graduated, obviously, but are they still the favorite? Or
I think they'll still be the favorite. I think, but also they need to. I think, like I said, they lost to a very good Georgetown team in the second round, and I kind of expected them to maybe get into that third round game, But I think what they really need to do is really play a lot tougher non-district. They need to get more prepared, play some of those elite teams, like going and playing like in those, like the Austin Lake tournaments and something, something like you're going to see high caliber teams. That's going to get you prepared for that run, because with your district not as strong as maybe some of those teams, you need that, because that way your players can see and know what to expect coming into those games. But Southwest, like I said, there was probably, depending on, like I said, how many players they lost at graduation, I think, and then also, like you mentioned, the coaching change, I think they're going to be the favorites. Keep your eye on Medina Valley boys. Like I said, they have some good players there. Harlandale is also a good squad. McCollum. It's to, like I said, this is another wide open district minus the top spot with Southwest, so it's going to be wide open. South San moving down from 6A to 5A, and like I said, there's maybe an opportunity for them to get into the playoffs as well too. So it's getting, like I mentioned, it's going to be wide open for the 3 other playoff spots. But like I said, Southwest should take care of business and win this district.
So moving on to 6A Region 4, 27, 28, and 29. District 27, Cibolo, Steele, Judson, New Braunfels, East Central, San Marcos, and Schertz Clemens. Who's your pick in this one?
I think it's gonna come down to.
This one seems wide open.
Well, it's going to come down to either New Braunfels or Clemens. I think those are the 2 top teams in that district. Like I said, New Braunfels a couple of years ago had they were able to knock off Reagan, but like I said, Reagan kind of returned the favor on them. Then Clemens, they've had some great runs. They beat Lee last year on a non-district game. Actually, they beat Lee last year on the playoff game. So, so the top spot is going to be between New Braunfels and Clemens. As far as 3 and 4, I think it's going to be Steele. I think they'll bounce back. Keep your eye on San Marcos. I think they may get that 4th spot. Like I said, I don't think East Central or Judson's may be in contention for this, but I think it's going to be between New Braunfels and Clemens, and then you'll see Steele as your number 3, and then San Marcos possibly your number 4.
Moving on to 28. Brandeis, Clark, Churchill, Johnson, Lee, Madison, Marshall, Reagan, and Roosevelt. So Marshall moved over because MacArthur moved down. So Northside School moved over. That's what, the 3rd one over there. Brandeis and Clark. This is loaded.
Yeah, this is your group of death right here.
I'm just like, draw a name out of that.
I think the favorite, I'm going to give the slight edge to Reagan. I think Reagan's going to be the top team in this district. I know they lost some players, but I think that they still have enough key players coming back. As far as the 3 other playoff spots, I think it's going to come, like I said, Brandeis surprised everybody last year, and I think they're going to give Reagan a run for their money this year. So, that should be a very good game.
Johnson, Lee, and Madison and Marshall's been, was it on the boys' side that Marshall was good?
A couple of years ago. Johnson's another one. Johnson, like I said, they're going to be. I think there'll be a playoff contender. As far as maybe getting that second or third spot, I think, like I said, between the second spot, I think it's going to be, well, then you also have Lee. How are they going to bounce back? Were they able to correct a lot of the issues? I know injuries kind of took a toll on them last year, and also, with goalkeeping too as well was an issue. Has that been addressed? As far as the playoff contentions, as far as 2, 3, and 4, it's going to be between Brandeis, Johnson, Lee. Don't sleep out on Churchill. They may sneak up. I think they're doing good things there. And then the rest of the teams, I think they'll, hopefully will try to battle out. Clark, like I said, I know they had a coaching change. Very disappointing season. I did see that they were a young team. They had some talent on there. Hopefully they can get it together. They got the right coach to get it together there. Madison, like I said, we'll see what they do there. Marshall is going to be, like I said, that transition from from the Northside District teams to this one. It's like I said, hopefully they can kind of make that adjustment. Like I said, this district's like a playoff game each game. So, but like I said, like Coach mentioned, they could throw a monkey wrench as well. So, but for me, as far as the top 4 teams for this year, it's going to be Reagan. Like I said, Reagan in no order, but as far as playoff spots, it'll be like Reagan, Brandeis, Johnson, Lee. Like I said, keep your eye out on Churchill and Marshall.
It just, to me, it's pick a name because there's probably 5 or 6 quality teams in this out of 9, pending injuries and stuff like that, and transfers in for that here. So 29 Northside, Brennan, Harlan, Holmes, John Jay, O'Connor, Sotomayor is a new school, Stevens, Taft, and Warren. AJ plays for Stevens, so he said Stevens is looking good. Of course, from his view. O'Connor, from everything I've heard, they're loaded. Even on the JV side. Harlan's tough. Brennan's tough. To me, the Wildcats, are they the wild card? Because they're going to pull some talent, I think, from O'Connor.
Mostly Harlan, but from the underclassmen.
Did they?
Yeah, I think the favorite for this year is still going to be Harlan. I think they still return a good core. I don't think they'll feel the hit just yet. Maybe next year, 2024. Well, like I said, in 2 years because of the Sotomayor being open up. So I think Harlan's probably going to win that district. As far as being in contention, those. I think
O'Connor
Warren
has to be. I've heard.
Yeah, O'Connor's kind of been down the last couple of years, but I think for the boys' side, I hopefully they'll get it together. But like I said, I think it's going to come down to, as far as the other 3 spots, I think it's going to come down to Warren, Taft's another team.
Taft was good.
Like I said, Stevens and more likely, and then O'Connor. I think those are, and maybe Brennan too. Brennan could be, like I said, throw a monkey wrench there too. I think those are those 5. I think are going to battle a lot for.
And I'm almost positive it was the boys' side that heading into the final 2 matches. I think there were two clear. I think there were 2 clear. Like 1 and 2 seed was locked up, but 3 versus 7 or 8 at the time was all within a game. All within 2 games where you didn't know who was going to be the final two slots, and I have a feeling District 29 is going to match. It's going to be that same way where if you get a week where you win 2 games, that's going to be a great week. Whereas if you can walk away with a win and a tie, because I believe they do. They do draws there. I think that's the key. There is, I could see this district, especially for the final 2 playoffs, is who, and I know this may sound silly to say, but if you can squeak out one more win, even if you have one more loss, as opposed to those draws, I think that's where this will be. That'll be kind of the tiebreaker when it comes to the playoffs on this one.
Yeah, and especially with the playoffs route that they go through. Like I said, I was real disappointed with O'Connor last year because they played against Del Rio and they and they just got outplayed, and hopefully they learn from that, because I had high expectations for them to maybe go maybe too deep. So like I said, District 29 will face District 30, which is the Laredo schools, Del Rio and Eagle Pass. That fourth place spot, you're probably going to end up playing maybe United or LB or maybe Alexander. So that'll be a tough game in the first round of the playoffs. But I think coming down, like I said, I think it's there. You mentioned, like, I think there's going to be about six, seven teams that are going to be in contention for those four spots. But I still have Harlan as grinding it out and winning this. But like I said, we'll see what O'Connor does, and also with Mark, Brennan, Taft, Stevens, and Warren. Not too much, but John Jay, like I said, in the past, they had some really good teams. We'll see what talent level they'll bounce back. And then, I know, Holmes, we'll see how they do, if they can contend, maybe surprise some people coming up this year.
On the girls' side, 27, Steele, Judson, New Brunswick, East Central, San Marcos, Clemens. Who's your favorite? Who's the dark horse?
I think there's three favorites for this one. As far as it's going to be Clemens, New Braunfels, and Steele. I think those are your three for sure playoff teams. And I think all three of them are going to really kind of battle it out. I'm going to give the edge a little bit to Clemens. I think they're going to have a good season this year. But it's like I said, it's going to be between those three who gets that district title. That fourth spot, it's up for grabs. I think, could be Judson, could depending on who they brought, bringing back.
What about San Marcos?
Not too familiar with San Marcos with the girls. They could surprise some people, and like I said, not too sure with East Central. So, like I said, I'm not saying too wide open as far as it's tough on the top three, but it's wide open for that last spot.
28, just like with the boys, probably one of the toughest districts in the state. In listening to you and Coach Cano last year when we went through the regionals, so we'll let you describe how this is possibly going to go.
I mean, this came down to kind of the last couple games, and there were some teams beating each other, and then we ended up having Reagan, losing in the regional final, but they also, like I said, they beat in the quarterfinal against Johnson. So I'm going to give Reagan the edge on this, even though Clark was also a contender contended for a while too. So I'm going to give Reagan the edge as far as the district title, but they have their hands full. It's going to be, hands full with Clark, Johnson, Brandeis. Like I said, you have at least, for me looking at here, 7 teams that anything can happen. Because this game was last year, we saw the district. You had one team in second, then they dropped down here. Then it was kind of it was like a big old grind down on this one. So, but I think Reagan. I feel Reagan, Clark, Johnson, and I think locks into the playoff spots. And then as far as the last one, it's going to be between Brandeis, Churchill. I think Churchill will bounce back this year, Lee and Madison.
This, like I said here, this for girls soccer, 28 I think is, like I said, one of the tops in the state here. 29. Oops, I forgot to clear the standings here on this one. My bad. Brennan, Harlan, Holmes, John Jay, O'Connor, Sotomayor, Stevens, Taft, and Warren. These don't necessarily line up with the results from last year. My bad. Sorry about that. Your thoughts on 29?
I think this. Like I said, this was also came down to like the final few games between. It was a 3-team race between Brennan, O'Connor, and Taft. Mm-hmm. We went to one game where O'Connor knocked off. You can see
the records.
yeah. You got one game that O'Connor knocked off Brennan, and then they took over first place. But then Taft knocks off O'Connor, and then Brennan goes back to first place. So it's going to be between those 3 teams again. But I'm going to give the edge to O'Connor because they still have their star forward. Like I said, she did a lot of damage last year on the goal scoring. So I'm gonna give the edge to O'Connor. But like I said, I think locks are gonna be Taft, Brennan. The final spot, I think, is gonna come down to Stevens and actually Harlan and Warren. I think it's going to come down to that last playoff spot. Stevens makes, like I said, Stevens could surprise some people too. Then, like I said, on there, but like I said, on the outside looking in, it's probably going to be Sotomayor, brand new program. Like I said, they're going to take their lumps, but keep an eye on them because they may be good in a couple years. And like I said, I think Jay and Holmes have a lot of work to do to get that Final Four spot.
That's going to be my question with Sotomayor Wildcats. Obviously, we saw the lumps like in Pearsall and Hondo at the 4A level. Coming in as a 6A school, is that at a huge advantage? Because obviously you're taking talented kids from other big schools, for that, as opposed to like if you're out in the country, the kids are who you have, and it's adding a sport for them to play, and hopefully you've got some kids that have played soccer before. So to me, but I think Sotomayor's freshmen, sophomores only. So you're talking about young, and I know this is why you're talking about, hey, maybe in a year or two, for them to do that. Are you kind of surprised that they didn't start out? I think Harlan started out at 5A, right?
Yeah.
And then the next year they worked their way up. Are you surprised that Sotomayor went straight to 6A?
I think, yeah. I think that a lot had to do with Northside. I think they wanted to keep their schools together because had they been 5A, which they should actually be a 5A, they would have been in that district with Southwest. And I think the travel wouldn't be much because I think the only far away game they would have would be Eagle Pass. And I think had they been in that district, I think they contend, and I think they get into that final playoff spot.
And the side here,
for the
right?
for the girls,
still for the same setup
for the girls. Yeah,
and
then
Valley.
for the girls side, I think they get it. For the boys side, I think maybe so. As I think they would have been in contention too as well. But keep an eye on them. Like I said, once they get, they're gonna take their lumps. But hey, I think next year they'll be in really good contention to get that one of those two, the 3 or 4 spot. And then who's to say they don't contend for that district title in year 3? Because like I said, they should have a senior laden team by that time for, like I said, for both the boys and the girls. So don't sleep on them in the next few years.
So we went through the teams and kind of how the standings are going to look. Any big coaching changes, player movements, anything that you've heard of along those lines? I know for me, I know Stevens lost, their head coach on the boys. She went over to Smithson Valley, I believe, her alma mater. So, you got to, I wish her luck, in regards to that. I know AJ was a little bit sad because he really, she was already making a mark here at Stevens. So to me, that's the big move, at least, that I'm aware of. Any other big moves, coaching wise here in San Antonio that stand out to you?
I think Coach kind of made mention about O'Connor. They're going to have a first-year coach, but they're going to have a lot of talent for that girls' team. So it should be, it shouldn't be a problem. Coaching up that team, getting them prepared. The surprise one was Governia, losing their coach. I think that hurts on the boys' side. I think that really hurts them because I had high hopes for them this coming year. Because they're returning a lot of underclassmen, like I said, a lot of juniors. Mostly it was all sophomores, so they're going to be juniors this year. And like I said, Coach Carrasco had a really good coaching pedigree as well. So we'll see how. Like I said, we'll see how they do. I think they'll still make the playoffs, but I think losing him is. I think it's, like I said, it's a big loss because he had so much knowledge and guidance for that team because he really turned that program around, and took it under his wing to develop it. So as far as other coaches, I'm not sure around, but like I said, I know Coach kind of mentioned about some other schools having some first year coaches. But coaching does come, Matt, as far as experience and so that's going to come down a lot, especially in the playoffs. Making the right decisions and so forth, and that's going to be key coming into this season.
Any final thoughts that you got? We still managed to go 90 minutes almost. Amazing on a high school preview show.
No bracketology.
We got it. We got to get this down to 60 minutes or less here. But any final thoughts that you got? Like I said, I'm just looking forward to getting out. The weather will be cold, so that's how it's soccer season here in San Antonio for high schools, because it gets cold and windy and nasty outside. So make sure you got bundled up for that here. I know for me it's a little bit exciting because with AJ playing with the Stevens JV team, so a little bit excited to get the high school environment as a dad, but as somebody that's been through it as a coach and kept an eye on it through clubs and stuff like that, just your thoughts on what a new season means for for the kids, coaches, and even the club teams.
I think going into, like, I remember when I was my coach in high school, each new season brought new goals, new goals and new new how can we top what we did the last season, and that's the focus you need to kind of the focus and the goals you want to have. What can we do to top us what we did the year before? And especially like a lot of the underclassmen, like the juniors from last year who are now the seniors, they're the leadership of the teams. It's their team. They're they're the underclassmen look up to them and stuff, so they have those leadership roles. How are they can they step into those roles, to lead your team, especially maybe if you have a few seniors and you have a lot of underclassmen. So and then also playing in district, the district games, what do we need to do to get into the playoffs or win that district title, and then when you get to the playoffs, like I said, it's luck of the draw, who's the hot team, and that'll determine who gets to Georgetown in April. And I think this year, like I say, the year before we had a team win it all, in the 6A level for the boys. Austin took it away. Hopefully this year we take it away right back. If SA can take one away from Austin FC, hopefully we can take it away too. And that's, like I said, that's now become, especially for 6A boys and girls, that's become the rivalry now. Austin versus San Antonio, and before that it used to be San Antonio versus the Valley. And the Valley, I know, it's kind of taken a hit, as far as
you
the
say
6A.
that,
but as far as the 6A level, but 5A level,
okay,
like I said, you have great teams like Lopez and Porter and Veterans Memorial. They've been, like I said, they make deep runs. Valley View, but for 6A, like I said, they've kind of taken the drop a bit, and it's been the Austin San Antonio show for the regional finals and so forth, which I think this year it might be in the Valley this year for the 6A. I'm not too sure. I got to double check this on there. 5A, like I said, with Smithson Valley boys and girls moving down, it's gonna, I think they're gonna, in what they did last year, I think they're gonna do some damage, and depending who they run into.
So 4A Region 4 is Corpus Christi, Cabanas, Soccer Field. Regional for 5A, Brownsville, Region 4. And 6A up here, Colmander.
Melander, okay. Yeah. So they have it at Toyota, but
it's a whole different thing here. One question, one thing that you mentioned that the Valley's kind of dipped, and I think we hinted on this during the bracketology episode. The idea schools pulled, in kind of talking with Jacob from down in the Valley, the idea schools started to pull the maybe not the star players, but the depth and depth, as we know, is kind of important as players are cycling in and out for that here. So it'll be interesting because you're starting to see a lot more of those idea type schools here in San Antonio as well, to see if that starts to play. I doubt it changes anything this year, but that'll be something to look out for, in the next few
Realignment.
seasons.
See if they add soccer teams. Like I know, like down there, like as you mentioned, it's taken death from a lot of like especially like I'll give you an example like Rivera and Hannah, two powerhouses down there as far as and they like I said, Rivera's won a state title, but I think those schools have really kind of taken a hit because of the Idea and Jubilee. And then even like Lopez and Porter, which Porter had a good run last year too. Lopez, like I said, that little disappointing season, and then Vernon Memorial, they've been consistent too. But I think the more of those schools are pulling out, taking away the talent, and a lot has to, I think, do is playing time. Being able to start because a lot of those kids don't want to be on the bench. Hey, let me go to Idea because they have the choice. They can go to those schools, because it's a public charter school. Say, hey, you know what? If I go here, I'm going to be a starter here. So I think that's what's hurt kind of the soccer down there a little bit. Who's to say it does the same thing here in San Antonio? If the Idea schools here start to have UIL sports, especially with the soccer side, are they going to start pulling some of that talent or that depth?
Well, you're seeing more of like this, science and technology. I think those are. I think they're kind of along those same lines. The fields they're building are more soccer fieldish compared to footballish, and I think part of it is you only need 20 some kids,
11 players, like at least 15, at least
15 to 20 players as opposed to 30, 40 kids
for football
for a thin. Well, Rafa, like I said, I think we covered it all. We're going to try to go out to Antonian and St. Pius X tomorrow here. I still got to work it out on my schedule. But it's coming. Probably 3 weeks away, really 4 weeks away from it really kicking off. The third, I know, the December 30th, I think is when you'll start seeing action between kids, and I know there are scrimmages that are going on between now and then. Practices. AJ's got to be there at 6:30 in the morning, so I won't lie to you, that's not fun. But
is he hitting the weights and all?
I don't know if he's hitting the weights. He does have 8th period soccer, and I think for him, what I think the biggest thing for there is they're working on his conditioning, which. That's, I hate to say it, it's always been kind of his bugaboo, is because he's a stocky kid. He's a strong kid, so it's not a matter of he's getting pushed around, but it's his endurance. And I won't lie to you, the first part of camp and tryouts and stuff, he's like, man, all they do is run us 2.5 miles. I'm like, yeah, that's what you do. So, but it'll be.
I would do something a little different. Goes. I probably would do something different as far as training, but I'll say that for another time. But I can tell you, especially like watching last night's episode of 50, like they had the Cattle Mills coaches, listening to them, the club soccer and the high school soccer, there is a big difference. And I think the coaches made a good point that, with the club soccer, it's more, I'm going to say finesse, but it's more technique wise because they focus a lot on technique. Like as I was club coach, we focus a lot on technique. But when it comes to high school side, it's a more physical game, and that stuff's thrown some soccer, some club soccer players off. Hey, you don't see that physical depending on teams who you play with. I have seen it.
We've seen some physical play,
but here in high school, you'll have more of that physical play too. More, there's a little more physical there too as well. But then also, you're also playing for your for pride, for your school pride too as well. So,
and I think that matters. That's. To me, because we had the discussion with AJ if he wanted to play or not, and I was like, I didn't play club soccer. I wrestled and played football in an area I grew up. We didn't have club sports back in the 80s and 90s for here, but to me, playing for the high school, especially with the friends and teammates that you go from freshman all the way up to graduation of high school. Those turn out to be lifelong friends. I've still got a couple of friends that I hang from. I don't hang out with them, but I'll talk to them on Facebook or Twitter every blue moon and see how their families going through. And some when we go back for the reunions, reminisce about the good old days, obviously. And but through there. But Rafa, we keep talking this on. I'm going to cut us off here because I'm sure we could talk for another half hour for that here. But let's end this, and then like I said here, probably do a show 2 weeks. Well, we'll work on doing the show because after that's Christmas isn't until following Sunday, so it'd be right before, depending on holiday schedules, and then the next week's Christmas and New Year's. So we'll see if we can fit a show in. I'm not sure exactly when for that here. You're not wrong there. Players cry when they take off that high school jersey for the last time. I still remember when I lost my last high school wrestling match at the state tournament. So not wrong there, Coach Cano. Rafa, we won't commit to another schedule before the end of the year, just for that here, but hopefully we can squeeze in one more before the season starts for that here.
Maybe we'll have a Power 15. Who knows?
No Power 15. You're against that.
Maybe we'll see. Or not. We'll wait till the beginning of the year.
I believe somebody else caught a lot of grief for the last 2 years about having.
Hey, what matters is holding the trophy. Like I say, you see right here. That's what matters right here. Who wears the patch at the end of the season? But just to finish off, like I said, coach, if any coaches are out there, say, hey, send us where you're playing for your scrimmages, schedule wise. Let us know where we're playing. So, like I said, if you want us to live stream your games, contact us. We love to come out, check your programs out, and if you want to come out on the show, like I said, we love to have you. Want to hear your stories, your programs, because like I said, every story is interesting, and we want to share that here in San Antonio, like what's the different soccer programs here in our town.
So, but what's life without goals? We're out of here. Hope everybody has a great holiday season, Christmas, and all that great stuff here. And we'll see you soon.